Very good evening and welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I am Ankit Tyagi. The turbulence for the Maharaja seems to continue, and this time the receiving end was a high-profile customer at Air India. The minister in the Union Government, Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chouhan, got a rude shock when he was allotted a broken seat on his flight from Bhopal to Delhi. Now, the minister, of course, complained about it, and that complaint created a massive amount of, questions being asked, of spotlight on Air India. Ladies and gentlemen, let me first tell you that this is not the first time a passenger has complained about Air India. In the last few months, we have seen high-profile complaints, celebrities, common people. The whole idea that suddenly there is going to be a turnaround of the former, government-owned airlines, owned and operated airlines, when it changed hands to the Tatas, back to its original house. That dream of a world-class airline, the Maharaja flying, with a lot of pride, is still far away at this moment. And what Shivraj Singh Chouhan is anger, which resulted in the Union Minister of Aviation speaking about it, and a lot of passengers also saying that, look, if the minister is treated like this, what about the common people? At least when the minister speaks, there is immediate action. People are speaking about it. So after Civil Aviation Minister Shivraj Singh Chouhan complained of this broken seat, the Civil Aviation Minister, Mr. Naidu, spoke to Air India immediately. He did not waste any time. He instructed the airlines to take necessary action. DGCA also is now looking into the matter. Now, ladies and gentlemen, all this has happened, and it once again underlines the fact that at this moment, the dream of Air India, where people were expecting an overnight turnaround, is far from what possibly our expectations were. So let's just first take a look at what happened and some reactions on that.
कोई गलत चीज अगर है, एक रास्ता ये है कि कुछ मत बोलो, लेकिन मुझे लगा कि सवाल मेरा नहीं है। अगर बाकी यात्रियों को भी तकलीफ होती है तो ये चीज मैनेजमेंट को उनके पता चलना चाहिए, ताकि आगे ये स्थिति ना बने। पैसा अगर ले रहे हैं तो हम ठीक से सुविधाएं देने का काम भी करें।
That's an important message. The bottom line, पैसा अगर दे रहे हैं तो सुविधाएं अच्छी मिलनी चाहिए. If you're paying for it, then you should get value for your money. It just can't be that somebody is giving you a broken seat after charging. And airfares, ladies and gentlemen, are not cheap. If the minister is feeling the pinch, what about the common man, Aam Aadmi? Is there something that Air India could do which it's not doing right? Are the complaints of only the VVIPs being addressed? Or are we as consumers expecting too much of Air India too soon? Let me try and understand this. Sanjay Lazar, aviation expert, CEO, as well as consultants, is joining us. A well-known face on NDTV. Dr. Sumit Sushilan, aviation expert and author, member of the Civil Aviation Government of India. Thank you so much for joining us. Khushbu Jain is a lawyer and a consumer right expert, and Bhavna Sood, she herself has had a bad experience with Air India, has been a complainant. She was on a flight from Dubai to Delhi, and she faced almost a similar kind of ordeal that Mr. Shivraj Singh Chouhan had to face in an hour and just about an hour, a little over an hour flight from Bhopal to Delhi. Let me start by asking you, Bhavna, because, in the end, it's about consumer satisfaction. All of us, when we shell out some money, it's not that everybody is expecting, first class, business class or first class kind of service in economy, but even in economy, you are expecting a better service from our airlines. Value for money, you are expecting a pleasant, comfortable flight. What happened in your case, and what is the status of your complaint?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me on this show. At least, my complaint will get heard. So I have been in Dubai since 18 years, and I've been a very frequent traveler to India, especially Delhi. So last Feb, after hearing that, okay, it's been taken over by Tatas, and so we tried, okay, let's try Air India instead of Emirates. We generally fly with Emirates, being an Indian airline and things like that. So we thought we'll try. But the moment we went into the plane, the seats were torn, the seat covers were torn, seats were broken. And the worst part was that AC was not working. So imagine, I mean, for being in airline, I understand that if it's on the ground, the ACs still don't work, or I think they don't switch them on technically. But in the air for 1 hour, the ACs was not working. We tried to raise complaints. I tried talking to the in-flight staff. They were like, "काम नहीं कर रहा है तो हम क्या करें?" And they were very, very rude. And imagine, like, okay, I understand seats are, we are in the flight, we have started, there's nothing we can do about it. But without the AC, imagine it's so suffocating inside a flight with so many passengers. That was a nightmare. Long back, we used to travel by Air India and we tried complaining, nobody hears. We try, like, it's been put on hold 1 hour, half hour, and then still there nothing happens to the complaint. So this time we were like, we took it with a grain of salt, and we were like, no more Air India again.
So has anything happened? Did you complain this time, and did anything happen?
We tried, but we never could reach any customer care because we were always put on hold in Delhi, and then it would automatically switch off.
Okay. So, and that's not the only person. We'll play it on your screens, ladies and gentlemen. People were expecting a huge turnaround in Air India after, in fact, Air India was taken over by the Tatas. And maybe the expectations sometimes are overwhelming, and they thought that, the turnaround would be very, very quickly. It did not. It's the same problem that people were facing when it was under the government, and it's the same problem they are facing under privatization. So it's not that private airlines are some sort of a miracle as far as service is concerned. After the minister, in fact, complained, now Civil Aviation Ministry has cautioned Air India and has said that they have been asked to take necessary steps. The CEO has been advised by the ministry to handle the matter on top priority. But is this all happening because it's a minister complaining? What about the common people? Khushbu, let me, like you were saying, that, much did not happen in Bhavna's case. Sorry, Khushbu, let me ask you this. Before I get my experts in aviation to talk about what is the problem that is ailing Air India, what options do people have? Shivraj Singh Chouhan is a minister. He can come out and give a bite, and then, of course, all cycles will run and all hell will break loose, and the minister will personally take Air India to task. But for somebody like Bhavna, people have even given up hope to complain. What are their rights?
All right. So there is something called as Air Seva, which is an app which is available for all the passengers who can, or there is a centralized public grievance redress and monitoring system. That's an online portal administered by the Department of Administrative Reform and Public Grievance, which is Air Seva portal, which is managed by Civil Aviation. Both the platforms are there to facilitate any kind of complaints that can come up, to redress any kind of issues that have come up, right from services, including flight delay, including baggage loss, including unusually long periods of refund, besides long queues at the airport, that can be registered utilizing this Air Seva web portal or a mobile app.
But,
so all of you...
No,
yes.
Sorry, can I ask you one thing? But a lot of people complain, but no action happens on their complaint. Do they have any option?
Yes, after the complaint, you need to understand that you can track your grievance. The registration number is given to you. You can continue to track any kind of grievance that is happening. In case you're not happy with the grievance or nothing has happened over the grievance, is where you can go for a appeal in the grievance, and you can continue appealing to the nodal officer that this things have not been happened and it did not happened in the manner it should have happened, or I was not satisfied with the redressal, whatever has happened.
Yes.
And with that appeal can be given if you're dissatisfied, if you're not happy, if it has not been heard or not replied within 30 days of filing of a complaint. Now that 30 days plays a very important role, because you need to remember that 30 days is the timeline that any of the airline company has to respond to you, or Air Seva has to respond to you. The moment they do not respond is where you have an option to go for a appeal in this matter.
But in ideal world, you would think that, you know, these things, these actions, procedures are for 1 in 100 persons who wants to complain. Otherwise, the service should be up to the mark and people should not be. If the minister can, Sanjay Lazar, if a minister can be given a broken seat, what is the hope for the common people? I mean, now after listening to what Mr. Shivraj Singh Chouhan had to go through, people will be wondering, is Air India a safe option? If the minister can be made to sit on a broken chair in India, in Air India, imagine what can happen to the common people.
Well, Ankit, thanks for having me on your show. And like Khushbu rightly said, there is the Air Seva grievance portal, but broken seats, I don't think are mentioned there. You know, you'd have to make an extra point there. But, you know, very strange. I must clear this. The minister flew on an aircraft registered as VTRTB. It's less than 1 year old. It's a brand new Airbus 321. I myself have tweeted, I flew on it last year in the middle. I posted photographs of that on my Twitter. So it's not like it's a 20-year-old aircraft. The aircraft is new. I don't really know what happened to that particular seat, whether it was damaged by, you know, somebody incoming, or whether it was engineering or whatever. But the point that you raised and the earlier two guests addressed is that had this not been a minister, who would have listened? That means there is something systemically wrong with the aviation mechanism. Leave the airline aside. You know, we know that the Tatas have taken over. No airline, just because it's taken over, can change overnight. They have legacy issues. They have old aircrafts. They have, you know, they're replacing. There are, you know, the chain of spare parts is not coming in. So, a whole lot of problems. They've said they'll take 3 to 5 years to turn it around. That's one part. The second part is this is a brand new aircraft. I mean, I've sent you the picture. It's on your screen. You can see the registration of the aircraft and the age of the aircraft. We know the aircraft came in, it was on ground from February to April last year. They put in seats and started flying. So it's less than 1 year. So if a 1 year aircraft, unfortunately, our minister has had this problem. But tell me which one of the 4 of us or 5 of us on the screen, if we had the same problem, would get redressal. I've had calls from 6 channels today. I'm sure all of my other colleagues on this panel must have been contacted by multiple channels.
Yes.
Hell has broken loose in the media. Tell me, what kind of mechanism has the Civil Aviation Ministry put in place to redress customers' grievances?
Yes.
Let's not, you know, hit the airline alone. There is a system.
No, I agree. It's not.
The system is broken.
The whole idea of this program is just not about, look what has happened to Air India and has Air India changed or not. Like you said, it will take some time. But the fact is that, is there a systemic issue in terms of the service on the airlines part, and on the other hand, the redressal method as well? Because this is not the first time, and we are putting out a full list of celebrities, those who have been choosing Air India and complaining about, from Sanjeev Kapoor, who's on the screen right now, to the fact that Mr. Shivraj Singh Chouhan doesn't even have to file a complaint. He just has to come out and speak about it, and all hell breaks loose. But the fact is that people have been at the receiving end.
Absolute. And that's my point again. Whether, you know, it's not only Air India, whether it is Indigo, SpiceJet, Akasa, there should be a proper system. There is not enough meat in the passenger charter, first of all. Get strong passenger charter. Get a stronger dispute redressal mechanism. Yes, it is unforgivable that seats were broken. Sometimes you hear of IFE broken. All those are problems. I've seen all the celebrity complaints on Twitter, as well as, you know, now I'm looking at it on your screen.
Yes.
But what we need to get really correct here first is put in place a system.
Okay.
Not some VIP complaints. That's why all hell breaks loose.
Okay, but
have this for the common denominator of everybody.
But Dr. Sumit, Sushil, you know, what we are talking about is just the tip of the iceberg, and Shivraj Singh Chouhan has given us the occasion to talk about it. If, like I said, if the minister could be treated this way, imagine about the common people. The fact is that the civil aviation minister, his colleague gets a raw deal and can call the airline and tell them what is happening as far as the minister is concerned. This is not the kind of effort that anybody is going to take for any common person, right? I mean, we can keep trying their customer care numbers. What is it that the Civil Aviation Ministry at a systematic level needs to do so that tomorrow when I'm traveling or on our panel when Bhavna traveled, she has given up. She doesn't even want to complain. She has complained so many times about so many things that they have not been redressed that she doesn't even want to complain right now. This is not we expect, the behavior that we expect after, shelling out the kind of money that these airlines charge.
Thanks, Ankit. Thanks for connecting. The topic is definitely valid. What steps should be taken so that in future it should not happen? Because I should say that hardly a couple of weeks back, I received Shivraj Singh Chouhan ji at Raipur airport because there is a proper committees are there by the ministry itself. There are committees which resolve the customers issue as well. So right now that committee is only for the airports, which is also called airport advisory committees. But when it comes to the airline, I don't think there's any committee formed by the Ministry of Civil Aviation where they can resolve these type of issues. But I'm pretty sure after this type of issue which is coming up, especially by VVIPs, so at least this type of committee will be formed. And I think there's a big question mark. Are Air India or all the airlines in India facing a major skilled manpower issue? Do they don't have the engineers on base or not? This is also one question. And that minimum equipment list, there's MEL, which is called for the interiors. As all these new aircrafts are getting refurbished, Air India itself is spending millions of dollars to refurbish these aircrafts. And as our expert already said, this is new aircraft. Why they don't have backup? Definitely, this is a big question, which I think the airlines will, the ministry will take up the call on this.
Okay. Sanjay, is there an unfair expectation? And let me bring you back, like you said, I want to bring you back specifically to Air India. Is there an unfair expectation on the part of the consumers also that, it has been taken over by Tata, it's a very big company, privatization, and suddenly you thought that Air India is going to become, if I may quote another company, Emirates suddenly. I mean, it is going to be one of the best airlines that in terms of service and in terms of its interiors and all. Is that an unfair expectation? Too early for people to expect that turnaround?
Well, Ankit, let's be realistic here. The Tatas are a century-old brand name in India, from pin to aircraft, everything. They handle everything. They are the magic fix-it name brand in India. Obviously, when the Tatas, when Air India went back to the Tatas, everybody expects nothing but the best because they are the best in amongst corporate houses. But we also need to understand they were taking over aircraft. Some were 10, 15 or 20 years old. And it's going to take time for them to refurbish everything. They've just changed almost 60 to 70% of their manpower. They've retrained them. They've just gone into a merger with Vistara and Singapore Airlines. So I think, and sort of share purchase with Singapore Airlines, it's going to take time. It's not something that happens overnight. And you mentioned Emirates. Emirates has taken 35 years to reach this point and of excellence. And let's give these guys a little time. But having said that, let's also understand, like Ms. Sood, everybody is a paying customer. And if somebody is paying good money to travel, they either get the service or they get compensated. There's no two ways about it. So in this case, if the seat was broken, the minister could have been accommodated on the next flight, and that seat should have been put on MEL, as doctor said. It's absolutely within the framework. If the seat is broken and you know about it, and I'm told it was indicated that the seat was damaged, don't allocate it. It's probably a communication error at the gate by somebody there.
Well, this communication error has painted the town red with Air India at this moment. I mean, this is going to, we are discussing it at 9 p.m. program on Saturday. But Bhavna, if I may come to you, do you also feel that, India hai, aisa hi hota hai. When a minister gets a raw deal, everybody talks about it. When you get a raw deal, who cares?
I know, after this incident, I really feel that. But the thing is, Air India charges much higher price than Emirates. So, if I expect a little more, at least from the staff, the courteousness. Okay, seats are broken. We are still meant to fly. But if the staff was not rude and they would have been a little more accommodating and they would have tried to fix the AC issue instead of being offensive defensive. That would have actually, worked a little. And then the complaint part, as I mentioned, no matter how much you try to keep hold, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and then it just switches off. So I think there has to be a central neutral committee or someone where, who's not related to the airline, who's not related to the aviation or whoever it is, but someone who's really on our side, the customer and the consumer side.
Dr. Sushilan, that's the pain point, isn't it? People feel that nobody cares. They just charge you the money and they get away with whatever kind of service that they want to, in fact, give. That's the pain point as far as the consumers are concerned.
Yeah, you're right, Ankit. Basically, earlier we used to pay only for the flight tickets to connect from A point to B point. Nowadays, we also pay for the seats. The aisle seat we pay different price. For window seat we pay different price. For the front side we pay a higher amount, which can go from 1,200 to 1,800 rupees per seat after paying the airline ticket. So if the airline is definitely charging for that seat, definitely every passenger deserves a good seat to fly, to connect from one point to another. I'll not mention an airline which had refunded the 100% ticket price to a first class passenger who flown from Chicago to Delhi. So they had, because the person was a famous YouTuber, a blogger who had posted this thing in their page, and they had mentioned the airline had refunded the money. So there are cases where airlines are taking action, but only for the famous celebrities.
Yeah, if you have a following on Twitter, if you can create this kind of a PR disaster for the airlines, possibly that's the only time they are going to listen to you. Otherwise, they don't care. Sanjay, you wanted to come in.
Yes, I just wanted to say, Ms. Sood correctly pointed out, we should perhaps have an ombudsman, an aviation ombudsman who will. Customer grievances should go there, and it could be neutral, third party. That's when you will find these situations resolved. I also don't really know what the situation on ground at Bhopal was that necessitated the use of a seat that was on MEL or on the list that was damaged. Somebody will have to look into that and perhaps analyze that. But I think all in all, it was poorly handled, could have been handled better, and I think I hope the ministry and the government realizes that, there are only 30, 40 ministers in the cabinet, right, but there are, 300 million people who travel on airlines, and they need the same kind of, service and alacrity of response when they have a problem.
You are talking about an ideal situation, which, a utopia that every passenger in this country would be hoping for, that they are given the same kind of treatment. In the end, Khushbu Jain, after hearing, there are problems with the airlines, they are trying to change so and so forth, service, this and that. Tomorrow, if I go through the same ordeal as Mr. Shivraj Singh Chouhan, and I do not have anybody backing me on Twitter or a minister ready to give a call to the airlines, because I've had a raw deal. Is there something that needs to be strengthened? I mean, you gave us the existing framework, but that clearly is not enough, and that's why people feel that their voices is being neglected.
I think that's where we should thank ministers or influencers to bring in such issues where they're giving the voice to all of us. But at the same time, yes, I absolutely agree with you. For people like a common person to put a complaint, there is no clarity as to where to complain, how to complain. So one is to know your current rights and where to complain and how to complain. The second would be, I think there has to be an ombudsman was a very good idea, but there has to be a mechanism where there should be a strict understanding as to how many complaints are being put across and how many complaints are sorted in that time. I think that clarity should come out, and with that clarity, some action should be taken over the airline that why something was not being taken against that, and which category are the one which are ignored by the airline, because at last we take 2 hours of a flight and then we forget. We would, do it maybe for a week of follow-up, and then we would not bother for a flight which was delayed or, cancelled or did not return the money back to us, which was maybe 10,000 or a 6,000. That's
the bottom line. Don't take me for a ride. I am only flying with you. Don't take me for a ride. I am investing my time, money among the options that there exist. And I'm hoping that because I've chosen you, you would also treat me with the same respect. In this case, of course, we'll see some action for sure. Maybe some ground staff in Bhopal, as Sanjay was pointing out, will be quaking in his boots right now that there is some action that is going to take place. But we are hoping that lessons are learned And this is a kind of action which makes sure that airlines treat their passengers equally, minister or not. Thank you so much to all my guests for joining me at this moment. With that, it's a wrap. News and updates on the other side. Stay tuned.